basically, what I would like to talk to you about today is deep understanding of search often falls on deaf ears. I work with a lot of business people, and what I find these days is that traditional marketing really is not search. And I find that I really want to start with this presentation at the basics. And I love the way Jim put the 5 steps of marketing basically into his presentation. So what I did is I worked actually the internet and search around that theme. So next slide, please. So for example, what I associate the internet with the buying cycle. Some of us old timers here that have learned marketing have learned that there's the buying cycle. There's before you get into the buying cycle, maybe advertising. What gets you to want to buy a product or service or whatever? You know, is it word of mouth? How does it start? And I call that pre-buying cycle. Then you get into the beginning of the buying cycle, the middle when you're making your choices, the end when you're making your purchase, and then how do you spread the word when you love it, right? And the internet, basically, you start with a need. Most people, 85% of the people that start on the internet start with a search of some sort. So they already have the need. They are already in the buying cycle. They search, they look for choices, they're not ready yet, then the call to action, they buy or whatever, purchase, and then create the buzz today, social media, get the word out there, etc. So, why are users already in the buying cycle? Well, when they come to the internet, they really have already had some person, ad, advertising, some TV commercial, friend in their ear saying you need to buy this or you need to look for research. So typically in the buying cycle, people start on the internet with research. They start by investigation, and then typically they, at that point, will go from investigation to narrowing their choices. And while they're doing that, branding occurs. You see, a lot of people on the internet forget that when they're in the search engine results, every time your company comes up on page 1 in the search engine results, you are branding your company. So basically, when you're doing that and you're branding your company, you're not paying for those clicks. If you're doing paid search, when you're doing organic search, at no point are you really paying for that, you know, impression, what we call an impression. So that's really a good way of getting your name out there. What people don't really understand is what we call the long tail keywords. How many of you know what long tail keywords are? Can I see a raise of hands? Long tail keywords? Typically, when somebody searches for your company, that's not using the internet as a tool. Because if they already know about your company, you have already branded your company. If you're Nike and someone types in Nike.com or NewBalance.com, you're not using the internet because you're not part of that whole search function. Because they already know you. That's direct, what we call direct navigation. They are already knowing you, they're already on your site, and you've already convinced them that your brand is important and they're there. Tail keywords are all the words that people use that you may not know of that actually get people to your site. When they're looking for stuff that, for example, let's say they don't know what kind of TV they want, but they know it has to have certain functionality. They look for that functionality on a TV. That may be a 5-string keyword that if you don't know how many hits that gets a day, then you're not using that kind of search. So real search is when people don't know who you are, but they're going to start this process. So now, once they put in the keywords, you're already in these 2 pieces. They're beginning and they're in search. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to narrow down their choices.